Hey there, welcome back. I am Pseudo, and today we're going to be going through my broken Vindicator build. This build is extremely tanky, excels at both sustained damage pressure as well as burst damage. It's pretty mobile, although not the most mobile, and it has unbelievable sustain. So without further ado, let's get into it. The benefits of this build is you can also run it if you're new with mostly the starting gear. The total cost of gearing out this build, not including the cleansing sigil, which you really should work towards having, is barely 10 gold if you use the starting celestial gear that will be exotic but still be extremely strong. So let's jump into it, what it excels at, and a couple combos on how to play it, shall we? So the gear for this is very similar whether you're running the ascended version or the exotic version. You're going to want celestial gear, surprise surprise, for almost everything. You can grab some toughness infusions and a couple concentration infusions. The concentration infusion will get you a little bit more benefit than anything else on this, but I really wouldn't worry about it too much. His sigils are pretty mandatory, so again, if you can, craft a sigil of cleansing or use one of your legendary sigils, and then sigil of energy, sigil of vision, and sigil of battle. The reason we run 4 on swap sigils is we can actually take advantage of all 4 by legend swapping and then weapon swapping. It's a thing that you can do on Revenant, and if you didn't know that, well, it's a good thing to know. We're running Corruption, Salvation, and Vindicator for our traits. Redemptor's Sermon gives us a little bit more Condi Cleanse. Balance and Discord gives us a little bit more healing. This trait has actually been changed, so I can't show it off here, but basically pressing your F2, which is your energy mill, will grant you endurance and energy back, so it's a good button to have whenever you're running low on energy for skills. Empire Divided gives you a little bit more power and healing power, and then Vassals of the Empire is the key one, which modifies your dodge. So this dodge will both do damage as well as grant protection and might, as well as extend any boons you have on you. This is extremely important for this trait, Resilient Spirit. Resilient Spirit is ridiculous in PvP and is even more ridiculous in World vs. World. Basically, you gain 200 or more barrier for every boon you have on you, limited at 5, but that's about what you'll be limited at anyway every 3 seconds. Extremely strong trait. You can also run Fortified Blessing if you're running into a little bit more power pressure, but honestly, Resilient Spirit's extremely good. So, going through the salvation traits really quick. Healer's Gift, end of your dodge roll, heals nearby allies, extremely strong. Eluding Nullification, end of your dodge roll moves a condition from nearby allies. Gain a little bit more healing power and convert some of your celestial healing power to concentration. Then we already went over Resilient Spirit, extremely strong barrier trait. This trait really doesn't do much for us. And then looking at Corruption, Invoking Torment, Demonic Defiance gives us resistance whenever we use a skill in Malix, Seething Malix, a little bit more condition damage. A little bit less damage whenever we have resistance on us, so it's kind of like fake protection. Yearning Empowerment, damaging conditions last longer, always good. And then this trait is ridiculous. I can't believe this is still in the game, but Permeating Pestilence actually transfers conditions from you onto your foes. And the reason this is important is, first off, this trait doesn't say it, but it's 5 targets. And it says conditions copied. They actually changed this back, so it actually transfers conditions. It's actually 2 conditions per target. And those are entire stacks. So if you have 25 stacks of burning or vulnerability on you, or something similar, that's all going to one person. So maximum, you can actually transfer 10 conditions off yourself with just this trait if you're fighting 5 people or 5 targets, like 1 mesmer, and you manage to, press your F1, I know, big cost, it'll actually transfer off 10 conditions on you. It also ignores blind and is unblockable. So it makes sure that those conditions transfer off of you. This is important because the relic we're running on this is Relic of Neos, and while it's not in the build editor yet, removing a condition from yourself heals you. This does scale a little bit with healing power, but this does not have an internal cooldown. So together with the cleansing sigil, we're removing 3 conditions and then up to another 10 conditions every 10 seconds. Extremely strong. That means, quick napkin math, if you're removing 5 conditions, only fighting 1 thing every 10 seconds, that's a lot of healing. Like 2,000 healing every 10 seconds. Very, 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 very good. So how you want to pair this is you want to sort of aim your legends accordingly. And those of you who don't play Vindicator too much, don't be too daunted. We're not running the Alliance stance here, we're running Dwarf stance. It's a little bit easier. You can run Alliance stance with this. I would take Amnesty of Shing if you are, and you'll know what you're doing if you want to run Alliance stance with this. There's a way of swapping into your legends and out of them, so you trigger actually 2 swaps every 10 seconds, but don't worry about it if you're new. We're running Dwarf for a reason. You want to pair Mace and Sword generally with Malix, and Dwarf with the short bow. I'll show off a couple combos that you can do with this, but basically, there's 3 things you want to remember. When you initiate, pop your Embrace the Darkness, initiate with Death Strike, throw down a fire field, and then blast what we'll have pulsing as a dark field. That's an AoE blind. You can also then immobilize them in the fire field, whack them. Your auto attack is very good. Then you're going to want to legend swap, then weapon swap. Very important whenever you go to weapon swap or legend swap to do both at the same time. As soon as you legend swap and weapon swap, you're going to want to pop 7-shot, and then Bloodbane Path, and then possibly mobilize them with Scorch Razor. This is because the Sigil of Vision will allow you to crit for 3 seconds after swapping legends or weapons. This is insane that you can trigger all 4 sigils every 10 seconds. So that's going to mean 7-shot and Bloodbane Path all are guaranteed to crit, which is insane power damage for a Celestial build. This build also excels at CC pressure. You have Forced Engagement, which has a 15-second cooldown, Scorch Razor, and on Malix, a 600 range, 360 AoE lead. It also hits 5 targets. If you're having any trouble fighting something, generally you can just change CC them or kite them around enough to heal off of the conditions they're applying to you. So, I'll roll through a couple combos, but enjoy the montage of fights in World vs. World. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. And I'm Pseudo, and I'll see you in Tyria. Cheers! So, going through a couple combos, how you initiate: Embrace the Darkness, teleport, throw down the fire field, blast Embrace the Darkness, immobilize. You can always jump to evade, legend, weapon swap, regens all that endurance, pop the hammers, trigger 7-shot, trigger Bloodbane Path, throw down, immobilize, or knock down. You want to try to use most of your energy up because you're just going to get most of it back anyway when you legend swap. So do the same. Remember that you'll get that Sigil of Vision for 3 seconds, so try to hit with your big power skills. You can also go back and Embrace the Darkness. AoE pull people, same stuff. Remember that you're also transferring conditions off yourself every 10 seconds and healing from them, so you're going to have double pressure in an actual fight. You can also use your 8 for Boon Rip if you really need to, and aside from that, it's good to know what your buttons do, but not required. Your Dwarf Heal does remove conditions, and your Malix Heal will actually heal you extra for every condition you remove. Know where your stun breaks are on the Dwarf Elite and the Malix Bane Absorption? And that's about it. Cheers!